So there's this book I've been reading called The Personal MBA by a guy called Josh Kaufman. An amazing book, an amazing author. And in the book, he basically puts in, it's a pretty thick book, he puts in the book a basic understanding of, the business fundamentals and all of that, so that a person reading the book can be able to take it away and have a basic understanding such that it's like they've done a personal MBA. And there's a way that he writes and he thinks, which is very systematic, which I relate to quite a bit, and that's just how my mind thinks. And he talks about what are the basic components that make up a business, right? So if you were to think about a business as a system or as a thing made up of various parts that form the whole, he basically outlines the various 5 components that make up a business. And what I want to do in thinking about that is I like applying it to myself as a person. Because I think that as individuals, in as much as we work for businesses, we work with businesses, like so on, you can also see yourself individually as functioning as a business, right? And you can apply the fundamental principles to yourself to enable you to also grow in the various areas of your own life. And there he gives 5 basic structures or 5 basic components that make up a business. And he says the first is value creation. The second is value delivery. The third is sales. The fourth is marketing. And the fifth is finance. Value creation, value delivery, sales, marketing, sales, and finance. And I really love how he structures it. So he says value creation is basically the value that you are creating, right, for your client. And maybe before I backtrack, when he explains what a business is, he says a business are the processes that you follow to create value for someone else or a group of people that they are then willing to pay you for, right? A business is the set of processes that you follow to create value for someone or a group of people such that they are willing to pay you for it. And a profitable business is when they pay you more than the cost of creating that value. So if you create a product and you sell that product for 10 Rand, that 10 Rand must cover both the cost of producing the product and also leave you with a bit of profit so that it's actually viable, right? So that it's actually worthwhile. So a business is a set of processes that you follow to create value for someone or a group of people, so much so that they are willing to reward you for it at an amount that's profitable. I hope that makes sense. And so it says, what is this business made up of, right? And maybe before I backtrack, if you as an individual see yourself as that, right, that you as an individual are a machine that creates value for other people, so much so that they're willing to pay you for it, you can see yourself as a business, right, or as an enterprise, as a business, whether it's in a service that you offer or in things that you make or in skills that you share. If you are able to create value for other people such that they're willing to thank you for it with money, then you can see yourself as a business. Then he makes up the 5 components of a business. And he says, number 1 is value creation. Value creation has to do with the actual value that you're creating, the need or the want that you're meeting for a person, the problem that you're solving for them, the burden that you're lightening, the pleasure that you're bringing to them, something that you're bringing to them or creating for them that they want or need, and that they currently don't have, or that they don't have in the way that you can deliver it, right? So that's valuable to them because they either don't have it or that it meets a want or a need, and you are giving it to them in a way that they either don't have. Either you're making it cheaper, you're bringing it closer, you're making it more desirable, whatever. You're adding something to it that makes it more desirable or valuable to them. Value creation. Excuse me. Not only is there value creation, but there's value delivery. Value delivery is that you are able to get that thing to the person, right? So it's one thing to create value in your own, corner, in your own silo, but it needs to be able to meet that person, right? Whether it's that it must be delivered, whether it's that it must be presented to them live. And how it's delivered can either be, various formats. It can be digital, it can be physical, it can be a service. There are various formats or forms that it can take, but it must be delivered in order for it to actually be value. I made a point the other day that value is only value when it's received by a person. So if something that you're doing is valuable, but it's only contained in your own corner, it's a hobby, right? It's not necessarily a business venture or something that's profitable. So that's value delivery, that you've created this value and you have a way of delivering it to the other person or to someone who actually wants it or needs it. And then he says marketing, right? And this is very interesting. Marketing is an essential component of any business. And marketing, he says, is to present the value to the person that thing would be valuable for. To present the value of what you've created to the person to whom it could be valuable or could potentially be valuable. And that's all that marketing is. It's not a complicated thing. It's not a, obviously there are complicated processes involved in it, depending on the nature of the enterprise or the business. But it says ultimately marketing is a way to present the value of what you have to another person, to say that, hey, this is what I've made, this is what it does, this is the benefit it can give you, this is the result it can produce for you, this is the pleasure it can bring you, to present the value of what you've created to the person that that value could benefit. The third is then sales, right? Or the fourth is sales. And if I recall properly, when he describes sales, he says sales is how you convert potential customers into paying customers. So you present it to a people or person who might be potentially interested, and the person says, okay, look, I'm interested. How do I sign up? Or I'm interested. How do I get it? Or I'm interested. Where do I pay? And it's the process of converting a person who's potentially interested to a person who's a paying customer. And sometimes that involves, a bit of persuasion, that involves a bit of, conversation and understanding. Okay, so what exactly is your need? How much is your budget, etc., etc. Sales and marketing are essential, right? So they are the front end, and value creation and value delivery are more of the back end. And then there's the finance. The finance is a critical component in the sense that the finance part is making sure that the cost of creating the value and of delivering the value and of running the business keeps being lower than the return that you get from your customers, right? So if you've got 10 customers that are paying you 10 Rand or 100 Rand or 1,000 Rand or whatever, the money that they pay you must always be more than the cost of producing what it is that you are producing, so that it's worthwhile to produce it, so that you have a reason to produce it, right? Otherwise, if you're not getting anything from it, you've got no motivation or no reason to want to produce it other than just, the hobby and the love of it. But finance is the ways to see, okay, what are the costs? What are the expenses? What are the things that we need to pay for? And how can we make sure that those are consistently lower than the return we're getting from our clients, right? And so that's the finance aspect of it. There are two ways that I like to apply this kind of thinking to ourselves. Maybe as a recap. So with every business, there's, from what I'm learning from Josh Kaufman in his book, The Personal MBA, with every business, there are 5 key components, right? There's the value creation part, the value that you're creating for someone else, the need or the want that you're serving. There's the value delivery part, which is how you get that value to that person. There's the marketing part, which is presenting that value to potential customers. Then there's the sales aspect, which is turning interested people into paying customers. And then there's the finance, which are all the processes in making sure that the cost of doing business is always less than the profit that you're earning, or less than, the revenue that you're generating. There are 2 ways, and this applies to me and you as an individual. The 2 ways, the first being that you and I, we form part of this process somehow. You and I can contribute to this process somehow with our skills, our talents, our education and whatnot. So for example, if you learned marketing, this is the value you add to your company or your organization or your team. You are the marketing person who has ways on how to present this to someone who's interested. Or if you learned, sales, or if you're doing sales, or if you are someone who's, a technician and you are in the value creation part, right? You work in the back end as production. Or if you're a delivery person, right? Or you are the presenter, or the one who, executes, on the service. Or if you're the finance person, you're an accountant or you're a bookkeeper, we all in some form or fashion contribute in one of these 5 ways, one or more of these 5 ways, in the businesses that we work for, in the companies that we partner with, and so on. As individuals, we add value in one of those 5 ways, in the area of marketing, of sales, in the area of value creation, in the area of value delivery, or in the area of finance. But if you see yourself, and this is the second way to apply this kind of thinking, if you and I see ourselves as individual value creators, or as an individual, business on your own, it's that there's aspects to you that can help you create value, right? You can create value for someone. There's value delivery, right? In that you can deliver that value. So it's either you put that value in a tangible form. So if you're good at baking, that skill of baking is put in a tangible form of either cakes or, delectables or whatever, pastries and so on. It's the value delivery and then getting it to the person who wants or needs it. So there's the value creation, right? The skill that you have, the knowledge you have, the abilities you have, the talent. There's the value delivery, right? How you can then quantify that thing and then give it to someone else. There's the marketing, which is the, hey guys, this is what I can do. This is who I've done it for. This is what I do. It's presenting the value to someone who may be interested, or potential people who may be interested. Then there's the sales, The sales is that, okay, I see you're interested. Let me tell you more so that you can then become a buyer, right? Let me find out what it would take for you to become a buyer and so on, right? That's the sales part. And then the last part is the finance, to say, okay, how much is it costing me to produce all of this? How much is, someone willing to pay for it? And how can I make sure that what they're willing to pay for is always worth more than what it's cost to do the business, to deliver the value. And there's so many things that are involved in that, but at its base, fundamental aspect or fundamental level, that's how I try to apply that idea of business thinking to ourselves as individuals, so that you can see that you yourself are already in business and that you contribute to one of these 5 aspects. And if you want to take it further, you can see yourself as an individual body of value to give to the world. Create value, right? This value creation. Deliver that value, right? You give it to someone else or you share it with someone else. Marketing, right? Which is to say, hey, I'm doing this, to show that value. Sales is to convince someone who is interested into someone who's a buyer or a purchaser. And then finance, to find out what is the most a person is willing to pay for, and how can I always make sure that it costs me less to deliver that value than what they're willing to pay for. That's how one can, apply that idea of the 5 components of a business to themselves as an individual. That firstly, we contribute to this, and secondly, these apply to us as individuals. I hope that makes sense. It's something that's definitely been an eye-opener for me, and I try to apply it in my day-to-day work, in my day-to-day, giving of value. And I hope that may be valuable to you as well. It's a bit dark where I am. I had to make sure that I park and get this thought across. And yeah, hopefully it will be valuable to you. Wishing all the best, and we'll see each other. Sharp, sharp.